Please welcome Michaela Watkins and Jillian Bell.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you both for being here and joining us today. So let's begin with, how did you get involved with this, Jillian? How did this project come about, and how did you get involved?
My manager sent me the script, and she said, I know you've been looking to do something a little different. This is very different. This is really playing a real human being for once. No, but she said, read the first 10 pages. You might be a little scared, and then keep going, because it's a beautiful film. And that's what happened. I read the first 10 pages. I got a little nervous about, what are we saying here? And then as I kept going, I thought the themes of the movie were so beautiful. And I just related to this human being, and I got protective of her in a way that I hadn't had before. I just sort of was hoping to meet with the writer-director, Paul, and see if we were on the same page about, what he was trying to say, and told him how much I loved her and I would take care of her, and we bonded over that.
That's wonderful. And Michaela, how did you end up getting involved with the film?
I got a call from Jillian Bell. She said, she said, I'm in New York, I'm about to shoot this film. I think I remember feeling like, are you asking me like my opinion of this film? Like, why are you calling me? Because it's 2017 and nobody calls anybody. So I, and you buried the lead. I realized, about 20 minutes in that you were saying there's this part that you should come do. And I take jobs because sometimes it's the part I love or it's the project I love. And when she started to describe the project and what she was doing and how scared you were about it, I just thought, well, I don't care what I do on this. This is going to be special, and I want a front row seat to watching that happen. Because I find when actors are afraid to do a part, they're going to bring something really strong to the role.
Now, there's a scene in the film early on where you two are in the apartment and your characters are talking back and forth, and you're there to help and you don't want to hear it. Can you talk a little bit of how strong that scene was for you guys? Because that is very deep scene, especially for you, Jillian, because I know you from a comedic background and everything. Can you talk a little bit about how much you had to dig for that scene to happen?
I think, was that one of our first scenes together?
That was our first scene.
It was?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was a pretty emotional scene, too. I remember before it even started, we shot, the part where you're standing outside, and I was just standing around the crew just weeping openly, just trying to stay in that headspace. And everybody, I always talk about how great our crew was, too. Like, everybody would walk by and just be like, okay, we're going to put the lights over here. And people just wanted to know, we got your back, but we don't want to get you out of this, what you're creating. And then we started up, and I remember we shot my stuff first because I was just a mess. And then when it turned around to you, we were running from scene to scene. So there was a point where somebody else was going to read with you when I was tucked down and you were doing your whole speech. Somebody was going to just read with you. And I was like, no way, first of all. And also, I wanted to see you do what you did. And
I forgot about that. Wow. That would have been weird.
It would have been very weird. And also, I forgot my cues sometimes because I was watching you and I was like, God, we're so lucky. We're so lucky we got you. She's brilliant in this. She's brilliant in everything, but she's brilliant in this. Yes.
Nice.
Brilliant.
That's nice. Stop it. Thank you. But the truth is that Jillian and I know each other from the Groundlings, which, if you're not familiar, is a sketch comedy improv theater, very different from that scene. And so usually when you work with fellow Groundlings, you're doing bits off the side and just yapping away and having a good old time. And for this one, Jillian, set the tone. Like, this is not a party. She was going so deep that I would just not talk to her, and then across the room we would just make eye contact and kind of wink, like, cool. And that was it. It was very different flavor for us.
Now, coming from an improv background, how true to the script did you guys stay? Was there any improving your lines, or did you stick truly to the script?
There were a couple moments where we felt like, hey, can we try this, Paul? But for the most part, we stuck to the script. For me, at least, normally I do a lot of comedies, and you'll come in and they kind of want to shoot as is, and then say, now, whatever you think your character would say, like, let's go for it, let's have fun. And with this, I just sort of felt like when I got the script, I didn't know anything about it, and I read it, and I fell so deeply in love with the words. And I felt like veering away from that, I was like, I don't know why we would. There's a couple of scenes, like the beginning of the movie, where I'm taking everyone's ticket. We played around a lot in that. And I think there was one part in...
You and Utkarsh
yeah, we played around a little bit, but like for the most part, we really stuck to it.
Now,
played Jaren.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, Brittany is obviously a true person. Did you get a chance to meet Brittany O'Neill prior to setting up for this film?
I didn't, actually. I didn't get to meet her until we were shooting. Paul had sent me a video of her when she was raising money to run the marathon, and that was all I got of her. But I definitely got her energy, her vibe, her essence, and then Paul and I just worked on the character and the story, because all the people, I mean, Michaela's character, Jaren, all the other people besides, I think, Gretchen, everyone else was made up. So it was sort of like, well, if, these are different circumstances, then how would she be if she had this person as sort of her father figure and this person as the person pushing her along in the race, Those elements were different, so.
And Paul, the Micah Stock played, his character's name is
Seth.
Seth.
Yes, Seth.
It was sort of Paul putting himself in there a little bit. But I was just going to say, it was great. It was going to be a wonderful thing. I was going to say.
I can tell.
And I don't think you guys deserve to hear it. So.
Oh, wow, she's taken it away. It's not that she forgot it. It's that she doesn't want to tell you.
I just changed. I'm not feeling it, guys. Sorry. I honestly can't remember what it was, but I was like,
if
you
it
need
comes
to hear
back
this.
to you, please interrupt.
Okay.
Please. I love you so much.
Now, can you talk a little bit about the transformation that you went through to portray this character?
Yeah, I decided to take on some of her physical journey. I didn't train for 26.2 miles, but I decided to lose 40 pounds because she does throughout the film. And I thought it would inform me more about the character. There's so many things that she goes through emotionally that I related to, and there's other things that I thought, well, why is she doing this in this part of the story? And I didn't understand until I started doing it for myself. And it was very intense and emotional, but I'm really glad I did it, because it really connected me to her.
Now, this was such a short shoot. Obviously, you can't lose 40 pounds in the short time. Can you talk a little bit how you broke that down?
Yeah, we decided to do prosthetics and a bodysuit. I think there were 3 different bodysuits throughout the journey, and then my real body's in it for like 5 minutes. but I lost 29 pounds before we shot, and then 11 pounds during shooting, which is the first and the last time that'll ever happen, because craft surfaces is very good.
I remembered what I was.
Okay.
This is not worth it, but.
Oh, I'm so excited.
You asked about Real Brittany, and I was saying, you didn't know this, but if you ever see it again, there's a beautiful shot where this Brittany is running down the street, and she runs past Real Brittany, and it's really. When I watched it again at our premiere the other night, I was like, oh, that's so
Where
cool.
is it? I feel like I've never seen it.
It's like in the second act, and he focuses clearly on one woman, and then racks focus to you. And the woman who's just standing at the corner, who looks like just New York City background, is Real Brittany. It's really cool.
Oh, wow. Now, can you talk a little bit about the struggles of actually having to act while doing a physical sport like running? Because just running and talking is hard to do, but you're actually having to act through all these scenes. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like what you see is what I was really experiencing. Like when I was struggling in the beginning, it was because it was hard too with the bodysuit, and I was still getting adjusted to everything. And then as we went on, I definitely worked with different trainers. At first, I worked with a trainer at home to just build my stamina because we shoot one scene where I'm running around the block, but then we do that 20 times. So you just want to make sure you can keep up. And then I met with a trainer who trains marathon runners. So he was able to tell me, okay, if you're on your first run, this is how you would hold your body or your posture would be, or, how you would actually physically run versus how you would run if you're a year and a half or 2 years in and actually running in the marathon. And that was very helpful. It's very different. So I took videos, someone took videos of me running so that I could just kind of keep that in my brain.
And Michaela, your character is very important to the story, is also going through a huge change in her life. Can you talk about the importance of having her have someone like Brittany and play off of each other?
So, like every character in the movie, if you really go through them, nobody is at first blush who they appear. I mean, we see Brittany and we put her in a category in our minds, but we find out that that's not really who she is. It's just how she projects to you. And I would say that's true of every single character. But particularly Catherine, who she calls Moneybags Martha out of the gate. And then we learn that her life is a mess and that she is in the middle of her own marathon, which is trying to get custody of her kids back. And that, she's been clean for a long time, but that she stumbled and she got injured. You know what I mean? She had a similar story to Brittany. And I think that we just never know who our support system is going to be. We don't know how we're being protected in life. And I think it just shines a beautiful light that somebody that you just sort of write off could end up being the person who is most central to changing your path. So it's interesting.
Well, the beauty of this film is that you don't see many characters like Brittany being front and center. Normally they're characters off to the side. They're that friend, that buddy. And the fact that you guys bring it into the front and center, it's a movie where you can look up to this person. Like I had like Rocky and all those, but you've never seen an athletic movie like this, so I want to congratulate you on that. That's very beautiful. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of having a character like Brittany out there in the world today?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think I keep saying this is the movie I wanted to see when I was a 13-year-old girl. This is the movie that I wanted to see and go, okay, well, she's okay. She's just like me, and she has struggles, and sometimes she has moments where she's being funny and silly and light, and sometimes she's doing it to protect herself, and sometimes you're rooting for her, and sometimes you want to slap her upside the head and say, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Especially that Jasmine scene, the scene at the barbecue is very difficult, but it also shows you she hasn't worked on her insides yet. A lot of these types of films show people transforming and their body becomes smaller, and we're making that the message is, oh, they're better now. And I'm just done with that message. I think this tells a transformation tale in a different way. And I was so proud to be a part of that message.
Yeah. Now, an amazing aspect of the film is the marathon itself. You actually shot during this marathon, the New York Marathon in 2017, I believe. Can you talk a little bit about actually shooting in the middle of a marathon? Because I'm sure people around you thought it was the real deal and didn't know what was going on.
So crazy. Michaela was actually not in the marathon, which is the best part.
No, what's weird is I did go to the marathon. They couldn't shoot my reactions that day because they had their hands full,
yeah,
obviously.
you were shot on like a sunny, beautiful day.
Sunniest day in New York.
And then the day of the marathon, it was actually raining, but it was really nice outside. It was like 75 5 or something. And then, so we shot as much as we could during the real marathon, which is a day I will never forget for the rest of my life. It was incredibly inspiring, and you're just watching like a mass of people just deciding to do the same goal and putting themselves out there in a way that, you know, you could fail, you could get hurt, you could shit your pants, as we found out, but they're all going for it. They've all made this commitment, and it was just so beautiful to witness. All of us were crying the whole time. We had a guy who was our Steadicam guy, who was 6'4", and he was just like, okay, let's go again. The most beautiful story from that day was that when we shot that last half mile, when I crossed the finish line, they had to use cuts from so many different, we had to do the take like 5 or 6 times, which we weren't expecting, because someone helped me over the finish line every time. Oh. Every single time someone would grab my arm and they saw that I was struggling, they're like, you got this, you got this. And they're, you know, running 26.2 miles, which is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I can't tell them I'm acting. So, but it also was like so incredibly emotional. It really helped for the scene. It makes you believe in humanity, and so I would go with them past the finish line, and then I would stand with them for a second, and they'd move off, and then I would go to Paul and be like, should we do it again?
I know did go watch the marathon and cry, because that's what I do at every marathon. And I watched a guy right after his girlfriend crossed the finish line, he kind of pulled her over and proposed, and I was like, what an asshole.
Way to make it about you, guy.
No, I got so mad. I just was like, come on. Like, she had 3.5 seconds to be like, I ran a marathon, and now
I did it. He's like, will you marry me? She's like, fuck you. I can't feel my legs. I have piss all down my pants.
Also, this was a year of my life, and okay, I guess it's about all right. I was probably alone in that feeling. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And now the organizers for the New York Marathon, how are they having you take part in the marathon and film it?
They were so wonderful. I mean, I'm sure the producers and everyone went through a lot to try to make it happen, but I know that once they read the script, they were in, and they let us use their jib at the beginning of the race. So that shot of me running with everyone in it, like, that's very real. And I think a lot of times too, people thought that we were shooting a documentary. So for the most part, they didn't like doing funny faces while I'm struggling running next to them. So that was nice. But yeah, they were so wonderful to let us do that. We were the first film that was not a documentary to shoot in the New York City Marathon.
Which is amazing, because I've ran a marathon once, and I couldn't imagine.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, it was quite. All the cameras that are around, I could see how they would think a documentary is being shot. So yeah. Also, I wanted to talk about. Tobey Maguire is the producer. I don't know if anybody noticed that. How did he get involved with this project?
He went to go see a play that Paul Downs-Clayzo wrote. I believe it's called Really, Really. And he fell in love with Paul's work and just set a meeting with him and said, what do you want to do? Because we'd love to finance a movie that anything you want. And he's like, I want to write a movie about a woman who tries to run a marathon. And they're like, great. That's what we're doing then. I mean, Paul talks about it all the time. He's like, I feel extremely lucky. And I know that's not how all of this normally works, but for him, that's how it happened.
And this is his first foray into directing. And he had asked to direct it, and they said, no. Are you crazy? And then he went, made a huge lookbook, flew back out to LA and made a giant presentation. They said, okay, I can do it. Because he wanted to protect Brittany.
Yeah, he was worried about someone coming in, and even if you have the wrong intention about one line in this film, it doesn't work. You know, he's really smart about choosing the right words and not letting, honestly, I think he was a little scared about people improvising, because when people tend to improvise, you try to make the room laugh. And, you know, when my character, especially in the beginning of the film, I was like, she is not the butt of the jokes. If she's making a joke, it's about herself or someone else or whatever it is, but it's not someone else beating on her on the beginning. And I think he was just so brilliant at making sure everything was word for word. We went through the script. We were having daily conversations about what we were saying with this film.
Now, in the film, you guys are such a tight-knit group, and I've seen interviews with all of you on stage and stuff, and how great you are, all the actors and the crew, and everybody's like a family. Can you talk a little bit about that dynamics and how this wouldn't work if you all weren't set out for this one goal of sharing this movie with the world?
We really lucked out. I mean, Michaela was the first one that I was sort of just like, I want to make sure we get that character, because we're trying to think of who would play this, and I immediately thought of you. And
it's nice because I've never really played that kind of character, somebody who's so seemingly quiet, passive, on her heels. Usually I play way more high-strung people, and so that was really nice of you to think of that.
It was different, but I just thought Michaela can pull this off, and it's different for her, and also she's so talented, but she's equally wonderful. And I just thought that'd be nice to have around, somebody who's going to look out for this movie, for me, for her character. Like, I know she'll go all in, and she did. And then we were so lucky with everyone else. Like, everyone else had their own personal connection to the story, whether they had struggled with their own body image, or they just loved Paul's work, or they loved something that I did, and we just all were sort of working together to try to make it work. We were running from place to place, just trying to get everything done. Some of the scenes we had 2 takes.
It doesn't look like it, but it's a very cheap, this is indie film,
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how it doesn't look like it was, but it's exactly like sometimes you only had one shot at something.
Yeah, but everybody brought it. Everybody just knew what they were doing, and Paul was really great about having so many conversations with everyone who was involved, and just so that once you showed up on the set, there was no like, well, what does my character mean with that? It was like we had these conversations before, so we knew what we were getting into.
And finally, has this film inspired either one of you to run?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think it's amazing.
I signed up for a half marathon.
You did?
Yeah, I was going to walk it, but still, that's something. And then I did start doing the couch to 10K, and eventually build to half marathon. But yeah, and I used to run, but then I stopped, and then I got this movie, and I have reverse body dysmorphia, where I was like, I'll be fine. Then I got to work, and I was like, I'm not fine.
Like, oh, we have to run in this part.
Apparently,
like, yeah.
if you like, being a runner 5 years ago doesn't count. So I know how the movie ends, and I still was inspired to sign up. So I think it's going to change people's lives a little. I really do. I don't know. Anybody?
Yeah, there's been some people who have come up and said, I'm running the New York City Marathon this year, and I was like, that's amazing. I am not, but I will hold up signs for you. Give me your name. I think it's incredible, and it definitely motivated me to run now. I really enjoy running. But yeah, maybe a 5K or a half marathon, that'd be amazing. The full thing, though, wow.
Well, congratulations on a wonderful film. Thank you both for being here with us.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming out and watching it.